Inside Gaming is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Why haven't you gotten a VPN yet? Visit expressvpn.com/inside.
Should I take the Connor spot, or Alana, do you want to do that?
No, you take the Connor spot. I could never.
Hey, everyone!
God, Connor is editing this, so
there you go.
They're gonna hear your great impression.
Hey everybody, welcome to Inside Gaming Daily for Tuesday. We've got reviews for one of the last big exclusives of the PS4. Oh, the Ghost of Tsushima is finally out. It's just Ghost of Tsushima. There's no the.
Basically, this is one of the big IPs from PlayStation that we've been looking forward to for a while, and it's almost here. It releases Friday. The review embargo lifted early this morning.
Most critics liked it. We actually are doing our own little impressions on it, so look forward to that. Well, some have dismissed it as Assassin's Creed, but in Japan, lots of reviewers said that the game is a beautiful piece of work that effectively forges its own identity. Sounds great.
Although some did knock the game for being a little too paint by numbers and for not living up to its lofty cinematic influences.
But as for the game's review scores, Ghost of Tsushima currently has a very respectable 84 on Metacritic and a slightly higher 85 on OpenCritic, which is very solidly good territory. But of course, that is likely to change as more reviews roll in.
Yeah, I was definitely expecting it to be either like in the high 80s or like low 90s.
I definitely thought it would be between an 80 and a 90, so 85 makes perfect sense.
If you're not familiar with Ghost of Tsushima's story, it's set in the year 1274. I didn't even know how to say that. And the Mongol Empire has invaded the island of Tsushima off the coast of Japan. You're Jin Sakai, one of the last surviving samurai, and you've got to learn a new way of fighting, the way of the ghost, to kick some ass and free your country from the Mongols. That is cool as hell.
Damn you Mongols!
The prevalence of the word ghost obviously means that the game is firmly in the action stealth genre. US Gamer's review said that following the massacre of the samurai, Jin makes a wholly pragmatic switch to kill the Mongols by any means necessary.
As we all know, ghosts, very deadly.
They embody death. That's what a ghost is.
Exactly.
So there's that tension of having to abandon your code of honor in order to get revenge on the enemies that have wrecked your home and stolen your stuff and killed people you love. It's a classic revenge tale, really. But you also, like, from the start of the game, actually don't see that much perspective before the samurai fall. Like, it really gets right into it, and then you're just trying to get your home back immediately.
What made this setting particularly noteworthy when it was announced is the game is made by Sucker Punch Productions, which is a Sony first-party studio that's best known for the infamous and Sly Cooper franchises. They are definitely not Japanese, despite making a very Japan-centric game.
The fact that they made Infamous and then this game feels like extremely different.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel like Sucker Punch made it.
They've been working on Ghost of Tsushima since the completion of Infamous First Light, and the idea behind the game, according to director Nate Fox, was to give players the fantasy of becoming a samurai. That's why I dress up my Animal Crossing character in those little samurai feet.
Yeah, they also wanted to give us a lot of freedom to navigate an open world, and part of that is not having waypoints in the game that steer you towards certain places.
It's so good. I love it so much. I mean, you can kind of go wherever you want, and the world like does a really good job of like pushing you in a certain direction, but basically the wind, you set your waypoint and the wind will just flutter in a certain direction, and that's where it pulls you to. I love it so much. Director Jason Connell said back in 2017 that we really want you to have the choice of, hey, that cool bamboo forest over there, I really want to check it out. I want to head in that direction and I want to see what it is. Honestly, it feels a lot like Breath of the Wild in that way.
Hey, let this thing catch your eye and say, okay, I'm gonna go check this out.
Totally.
But what did critics think? Is it Assassin's Creed but with samurai? Do you climb up towers?
Well, Zach Destructoid loved it, giving it a 9.5 out of 10, and saying that Sucker Punch deserves to be in the same conversation as Insomniac, Naughty Dog, and Sony Santa Monica. High praise. I don't know if I would put like the Infamous series and like something like The Last of Us 2 on the same level, but this is definitely like bumped it up.
Yeah, Destructoid also called Ghost of Tsushima one of the most incredible looking games I've ever seen that represents the culmination of current generation technology. It is really pretty.
Is the main character hot?
Yeah?
Gonna give you the best, so just don't go too far unless you know.
How's his butt look?
Great butt. You see a lot of his butt.
Unless you know.
I just wish he had more of a sense of humor. That's, you know, I like a guy with a sense of humor.
I'll be there for you.
They also praised the removal of waypoints, saying that instead of the standard breadcrumb trail in most games, Ghost reinvents it with a flowing wind effect that points you in the right direction while wildly altering the environment in front of your eyes. I'll never get tired of it, and I want it in pretty much every game. That is really cool.
IGN also gave it high remarks, scoring it a 9 out of 10 and calling it an extraordinary open-world action-adventure game that solves several issues that have long gone unaddressed in the genre, while also just being an all-around samurai slashing good time.
He did have a few issues though, saying that some areas lack polish, like the enemy AI and the stealth parts of the game, but praised the way the game steadily introduces new abilities and keeps the swordplay challenging. My one biggest issue with the AI is that you'll kind of like be waiting, and there's like, I don't know, 5 guys, and you're waiting for one of them to come at you so that you can parry them, because that's all timing based rather than running at them yourself. And sometimes they just kind of won't. They'll just sort of stand around for a while, and that just breaks up the flow of combat in a really weird way.
As for the game's length, it took IGN's reviewers 40 to 50 hours to beat Ghost. Obviously, your mileage may vary. I mean, if you're slow, could take you longer. That's the way the numbers work.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Thank you, Alana.
Yeah.
We've got to stop here for a moment, though, to talk about another kind of length, your hair length. You can prevent hair loss now with Keeps. Friend of the show, Keeps.
Today's episode of Inside Gaming Daily is brought to you by Keeps. Did you know that 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35? But now, thanks to Keeps, you can visit a doctor online and get the hair loss medication delivered right to your home. They make it easy to deliver your medication every 3 months, so you can say goodbye to pharmacy checkout lines and awkward doctor visits. Keeps offers generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there, and you may have tried them before, but probably never for this price. Prevention is key. Keeps treatments can take up to 4 to 6 months to see results, so it's important to act fast. The sooner you start using Keeps, the more hair you'll save. Find out why Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors, and nearly 100,000 men trust Keeps for their hair loss prevention medication. Keeps treatments start at just $10 a month, plus for limited time you can get your first month for free. Hey, I wouldn't be telling you this if I wasn't taking it seriously myself. I mean, when I'm getting to the point in quarantine where I'm tying it all up because it's getting so long. So if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/inside to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's KEEPS.com/inside.
Back to the reviews. Games Radar said Ghost of Tsushima is a worthy swan song for the PS4 and a tribute to the Japanese culture it so clearly reveres.
Games Radar's reviewer said that the combat revolves around mastering your katana as you dodge, strike, and time your parries just right. You can also use various special powers to slice through enemies. That white line that kind of comes up when you do that, I don't know what it's called, like the mode where you square up against one guy at a time.
It's a standoff. Yeah,
standoff.
It's the best.
Very satisfying.
I keep doing this thing where if I get a standoff, this is a very strange isolation thing, I think. I wink, I'll get it, and I'll be like, at my own TV, because I feel like a cool guy. I'm like, yeah.
Alana, no. 2020 is affecting us all in different ways. There are 4 stances in the game. Each one gives you a new attack that can break the guard of a certain type of enemy, so there will be a lot of switching back and forth, but reviewers also said that the stances make combat more interesting.
Games Radar also wrote, by the end, the combat flowed like a dance. I knew just when to throw out a kunai or ignite my sword to deliver fiery death and learn to dodge attacks like I developed Spidey sense.
They called it the Samurai Assassin's Creed Ubisoft will wish it had made. A ton of reviewers also loved the game's wind effects, which US Gamer said whips up a look that's wholly unique to Ghost of Tsushima. They added other AAA games might be technically as dense, detailed, and beautiful, but nothing looks quite like this game.
Makes sense, because of course the game is also a big homage to classic samurai films, most notably Seven Samurai by the legendary Akira Kurosawa. You can even put the game into a grainy black and white mode with Japanese voiceovers and subtitles, making it look pretty darn close to a Kurosawa movie. It's literally called Kurosawa mode.
On the flip side, the Washington Post said the game has a hard time living up to its influences, writing, no character in this game is written in a way to even attempt the charisma and humor of Seven Samurai. A trailer of the 1952 film exudes more energy than the entirety of the dour performances in the game.
Is there any humor, or is it like pretty serious?
Yeah, it's pretty serious.
That makes sense. Well, you can't see his ass, and as we all know, butts are funny, so I guess there's that. That doesn't mean, however, that it's not a good samurai game. The Post added that it's a wonderful culmination of the best ideas of open world adventures of the last 2 console generations, all wrapped up in very pretty, albeit superficial samurai clothing. It's a great Xbox 360 game, and I mean that as a compliment. Ooh boy. I'm not sure what they mean by that.
Backhanded compliment with brass knuckles. Eurogamer wasn't quite so taken with the game though, saying that it's limited by a rote and rigid world. They loved the voice acting and the game's score, but they said that the stealth mechanics seemed weirdly weirdly undercooked, calling it very much stealth light, closest to a modern era Assassin's Creed with even fewer toys.
Rote and rigid, though. The world rules. But, you know, you're allowed to your opinions, I guess, Eurogamer.
How much farther from Japan can you get than Europe?
Nice. Where is Japan?
Nailed him.
Somebody please tell me where Japan
Where's
is right
Japan?
now.
They also wrote, you'll be frequently defaulting to the usual suspects, x-ray vision, throwing a jingly distraction bell, pop a smoke bomb if you get in trouble, and try again.
Eurogamer felt that ultimately the game was a little shallow, showcasing a beautiful world that's ultimately not very deep. Man, she's gorgeous, but she's stupid.
They called it another game fallen victim to the palatability blender, coming out the other side as a slightly formless smudge of every genre without a mastery of any. Ooh, God. It's what happens when you want to pay homage but don't want to add anything new of your own.
I think that's kind of the problem when you have legendary influences. You're always going to be compared to them. The Inside Gaming story.
Oh no. But on the whole, most everyone agreed that Ghost of Tsushima is a really good time, which ultimately, that's what we're looking for in this year of a pandemic, civil unrest. We have a very nail-biting election happening in America at the end of this year, so that'll be good for sure.
I don't think this game is a 10 out of 10, but it's good, and it makes me happy because it's just very like pleasant in a lot of ways. All I'm going to tell you is if you see a red bird in the open world, you got to follow it because it'll take you to Jin's house.
That's incredible. Why don't we talk about that?
Sign me up for a one-way ticket. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it's like stealth light. It definitely exists, and in some of the main quests is actually really cool. Like if you have to track someone and say it's you and another one of your associates, and you are following them and like dancing across the rooftops at nighttime. Sometimes that feels incredibly cool. But where the outpost